Hello BookTube. Today I wanted to do a video about my favorite books of 2018. I've seen quite a few of these on BookTube lately, and I think they're fun videos to watch, so let's get into it. Okay, so I have my list here of, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. No, 5 books. I wanted to keep it small, and honestly, like, the books that I've read in 2018 have not been my favorites. I mean, I liked a lot of them, but none of them have really been like, wow, or like, stuck with me. So I wanted to talk about these. Okay. First, I have The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. This I'm sure you've heard talked about a lot. I heard about it first on Rincey Reed's channel, and I'll link that down below. And it's a true crime novel about the Chicago World Fair and a serial killer who was like kidnapping people like from who were visiting the World's Fair in Chicago in I think 1897, I want to say. And like the disaster that was that World Fair, like how horribly wrong everything went. And it's just like funny and it's well written and it reads like a novel. And yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a good book. Especially if you like true crime. I loved the stuff about the serial killer. Oh my god. So fascinating. He had like a furnace where he like burned people in the basement of his hotel. Like it was just crazy. Yeah, and then the stuff about the World's Fair is interesting too. Less interesting, but also interesting. So check that one out. Okay, next I read Sourdough by Robin Sloan. I read this because I adore Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. That was my favorite book for a really long time, and I actually like emailed Robin Sloan when I first read it and was like, this is amazing, like, I love your writing so much, I want to be a writer, like, what can you tell me? And he emailed me back. It took like a year, but he emailed me back, which was really cool and made my little fangirl heart really happy. So I really liked Sourdough. Sourdough is about a woman who, usually his books take place in San Francisco, which is where he lives. So it's a woman living in San Francisco, and it's like her, and I think it's been a while since I read it, but I think she has a job she doesn't like, and then she's working for this tech company where everybody eats, like, goop, which is like, I don't know if it's called goop, but it's like this like nutritional thing, and so she's like trying that, and she does everything like as easy as possible. Like she doesn't care about food, so she just eats this goop for a really long time until she finds this bakery with these two guys that operate it, and it's some like made up culture that they come from, but they make this amazing sourdough bread, and eventually they have to leave and go back to their home country, and she gets their sourdough starter. And if you don't know about sourdough bread, the starter, you need to have a starter to make it, and some starters like are passed down by generations, like they go forever, so you always like take a little bit to put in your bread and then like put a little bit in, I think, when you're making it. I'm not exactly sure. I don't make bread often. And so she gets their starter and she makes bread, and it's incredible, and it like changes her life. And the ending's kind of bizarre, but I read it in like 2 days. I read it really quickly and I loved it. So yeah, I recommend that. Okay, next I have Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This I read on audiobook, and the Audible audiobook has Trevor Noah actually read it, which is really cool. I love it when like memoirs or like poetry are read aloud by people, on the audiobook. That's like my favorite way to consume books, because I think hearing it in their voice really makes a big difference. But yeah, so Born a Crime's really good. It's about his life growing up in South Africa, post-apartheid, and yeah, it's really intense. Like, there's like domestic violence that happens, so like I guess trigger warnings. Um, but it's really good, and it's still funny because he's a comedian, so it's like it's cool. And it's not like about his like life and how he made it. It's more about his childhood. And I assume he'll write another book about like his life now. I don't know. I kind of hope so. But yeah, so that was really really good. Okay, next is a book that I read for school actually. That's Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is an insane novel. It's wow. Okay. Basically it's this family and the woman um okay, wait, let me think about it. Okay. So it starts with a woman who is an escaped slave. And I think you don't find that out in the beginning because it's all like time is very like fluid in the book. Like it jumps back and forth a lot. Um like to when she was a slave and to later and stuff. And she so it talks about her being a slave, and then it talks about um, her life after that, and she has to well, she tries to kill, actually I think she does kill her daughter, because she doesn't want her to fall into slavery like she did. So it's really intense, lots of trigger warnings. um, it's really like emotionally jarring, but it's also so beautiful and so real, and like the writing, oh my god, the way Toni Morrison writes kills me. And I definitely want to read more Toni Morrison. um yeah, so I really recommend Beloved, and everyone knows about Beloved. That's not like a new book, but yeah. And then my last book is How I Learned to Drive by Paula Vogel. This is a play actually, and I read it, I think I talked about this, but I read it because let's see, I had to do a monologue for my drama class, and so I was like in the bookstore looking through plays to find monologues for women, and I found this one, this play, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And it's basically like these redneck people living in the Midwest, I want to say, and it's about like this girl's life and how she's like kind of abused by her uncle. And well, she has a relationship with her uncle. I don't know if I think it's abuse. And not her uncle by blood, her uncle by marriage. Doesn't make it better. And it all uses this metaphor of like driving. And so yeah, oh my god, I just recommend it. And I've talked about this also, but I don't love reading plays. I think plays are meant to be watched. It's a visual medium. But the way this is written, it's honestly, it's like poetry. So I really really loved that. I don't really have a top book of the year so far. I liked all of these a lot. But yeah, those are my books. I hope you enjoyed. I'll tell you, so you can stop watching now if you want, but I'm going to talk about the books that I'm currently reading, which I like to do at the end of my videos. I kind of stopped doing it, but I don't know, it's fun for me. So I'm currently reading Perfidia. I have it open on my desk right now. This is my LA literature summer reading book. It is about, it takes place in Pearl Harbor, and it's about like police corruption right before the war, and like World War II. And it's just, wow, it's gnarly. But I really like it. It's kind of hard to read because there's a lot of like 40s jargon that I don't know. Then I'm also reading Hillbilly Elegy, which is really good, and that's about hillbillies in the Midwest. It's a memoir, and that's for my contemporary fiction class that I'm taking. And then for fun, I'm reading Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and that is dystopian. I would consider it dystopian. I don't want to say anything about it because I feel like that would spoil it. But it's good so far. It's interesting. I haven't read a lot of it because I've been doing a lot of summer reading. And then last, I'm reading, I have it here, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, which is supposed to be a thriller, but so far it doesn't feel like one. But I still like it a lot. I'm into it, and I'm listening to that on audiobook, but I also own a hard copy of it. So yeah, that's me. I hope everyone is doing well. Have a nice summer. If you have any like videos you want to see from me, like put them in the comments. I'll do whatever you guys want, honestly. Like, I don't care. I just like to talk about books. And I also like to do this when I'm procrastinating doing my work. So, yep, I should get back to my work. So, bye.